नमो अरिहंताणम, नमो सिद्धाणम, नमो आयर्याणम, नमो उवज्जायाणम, नमो लोहे सवसाहुणम, ऐसो पंच नमो यारो सव पावपनाशनो मंगलाणम च सव्वेसिम पढ़मम होवै मंगलम. Jai Jinan Bachcho. We started with a good, great question by Sarthak today on how many lives Mahavir Bhagwan had before his soul became Mahavir Bhagwan and he attained moksha. Right? So while we know his soul now is in moksha and will never take the rebirth, but the right answer for how many lives Mahavir Bhagwan had before he got born as Mahavir Bhagwan, the right answer is infinite, right? Many since eternity, right? We not all of his lives have been documented because who knows? God knows what different gati his soul was born in. However, once after he was born as a Marich, that point forward, all his lives, all his bhav, all his gatis have been documented in our agam, and there are great stories about how his soul elevated itself from being Marich and being in a mithya drashti, being a wrong believer, going to Nark, and from that point forward, all the lives that soul took, all the births that soul took, and in every birth, how the soul enriched its contemplation process and ultimately moved up the chain, elevated in the gun sthans, and ultimately reaching the state of where his Tirthankar Namkarm Bandh happened, and because of which, in the next two lives, that soul was born as Tirthankar, right? As a baby boy in Ma Trishla's womb, right? You know the parents of Mahavir Bhagwans, right? Raja Siddharth, and mom's name is Trishla, right? So he was born in a very important household, a household of the kings. Now remember, kings of that time in India were not like autocratic kings; they were actually elected kings. Okay, so he was born in a culture which had a very different form of government, which was closer to, I would say, republics, right? So while these were not like democratic in the format that we are used to in America and India, but this particular republic had elected people. It was like a council. The government was headed by a council, and Raja Siddharth was one of the kings in that council, right? Not just that, Raja, Trishla Ma's father, Raja Chetak, was actually head of one such mega republic, right? So great stories around it for another day, right? That is not the topic that we wanted to cover today. But since Sarthak asked such an awesome question, I had to give some background. So if you do Wikipedia research on these names, Marich, um, past lives of Mahavir Bhagwan, or you do chat GPT question on Raja Chetak, you'll find all these great stories, all fascinating stories. I'm always fascinated about these stories. So I'll encourage you also to look for these stories. Now, of course, apply the Jain context to it because Marich again, the Jain story is said from a particular perspective, while there could be another story from a Hindu perspective. Okay. Having said that, now let's come to the topic for today. So, the topic that we are going to start today is a series. We are talking about Das Lakshan Dharm, right? We are going to cover the first two Das Lakshan Dharms today, Uttam Shama and Uttam Mardav. In other words, the supreme forgiveness and or supreme forbearance and supreme modesty. Okay, Shama and Mardav. Now, as I said, there are 10 of them. And as a Jain householder, we should know the names of the 10 dharma because that's one of the point of contemplation, right? When we do Bara Bhavna, one of the Bhavna is Dharm Anupreksha or Dharm Bhavna. What that means is that we should always be constantly reminding ourselves of the path of Dharma. In other words, we should be constantly reminding ourselves of the Das Lakshana Dharma that we should be following. Okay, so first step towards the contemplation for Das Dharma is to remember those names, है ना. So इसलिए इसको बहुत जरूरी है कि हम इन 10 लक्षण धर्म के नामों को जाने. Okay, so let me share my screen now. That way I can play the video. Now, as I said, the first today we are going to do Shama and Madhav, but the names are Shama, Madhav, Arjav, Shauch, Satya, Sanyam, Tap, Tyag, Akinchanya, and Brahmacharya. These are the 10 names. Now, of course, we'll cover them one at a time, and that way you will have an opportunity to remember the names. Okay? So let me play the video here. First video, Uttam Shama. It's a story. It's a story about forgiveness in spite of hardships. It is story about the first most important Digambar Jain saint of our times, of the current times. He was born during the British era, not a very conducive environment for the Jains in India, especially for Digambar naked sadhus. And he was one who reinstated the Digambar order in the north of India. In the south of India, it was yet being practiced, but in north of India, because of the age of persecution under the Muslim empires, and then later under the British, the tradition of Digambar monks had kind of got into hiding, right? It was not in prominence. So uh, it was Acharya Shanti Sagar who re-established that practice, that order in the north, that Digambar monk order in the north. है ना? That's his uppkar, and his story is equally fascinating, especially centered around Uttam Shama. Okay, so let's listen to that story. Any other question before I start the story? Praniti, Arham? Okay, let me play the story now. Let's see. It take a couple of seconds to.
Jai Jananth kids, do you know about the Das Lakshan celebrations in Jainism? They are the 10 most auspicious days to celebrate the Das Dharmas, or the 10 Dharmas. If we understand and follow these Das Dharmas in our life, then we will pave our path to moksha. Today, I will tell you about the first of the 10 Dharmas, which also happens to be the most important, Uttam Shama, meaning supreme forbearance dharma. All of our Muni Maharajas follow this dharma throughout their lives, no matter how many bad words people say to them, or even if they are physically injured. Our Muni Maharajas always forgive. Around 100 years ago, in the early 1900s, the British government ruled Bharat, now named India, and everybody's lives were extremely difficult. They were not easy like life today. The lives of the Muni Maharajas were even more tough, since they did not live in the luxury and comfort of normal people. At that time, there also lived a great saint by the name of Acharya Sri Shanti Sagar Maharaj.
Okay, guys, please do remember the name Acharya Shri 108 Shanti Sagar Ji Maharaj. Okay, can you recite this name once? Acharya Shri 108 Shanti Sagar Maharaj. Okay? Okay, let me play the video.
One day, while on Vihar, which means to travel, Maharajji reached the city of Rajgera in Dolpur. There, his pravachan or lectures went very well, and for 3 days, many people came to hear Maharajji's pravachan. On the 4th day, Maharajji thought of traveling to another place. However, his followers in the city requested and convinced him to stay back. Then, on the 5th day, unexpectedly, some of Maharajji's non-followers planned an attack on him. However, on that day, Maharajji left a little early for ahar, which is food given to monks by their followers. He also happened to finish his ahar quickly. All Muni Maharaj was thinking of doing was samayak, or religious meditation. When Acharya saw dark clouds in the sky, he said that samayak would be conducted inside the meditation room and not in the open. Everyone abided by what Acharya said, and along with the other Muni Maharajas, they became immersed in meditation of the soul in the meditation room. They began to recite prayers for Samta Bhav, meaning peace and equality towards all living beings. At the same time, around 500 people with shining swords reached outside the meditation room to attack Acharya. Around 500 people started attacking the Shravaks, or the followers of the Maharaj Shri. And when the Shravaks tried to stop them, some of them lost their fingers, and some of them even lost their hands. All of the Shravaks were badly injured. The police force arrived and they stopped the attackers. They even caught the leader of the attacks. All this happened while Sadhu Maharajji was still doing meditation. The police officers went inside the meditation room to pay their obeisance to Acharya. Looking at his calm and composed posture, the officers decided to give the strictest punishment to all the people who had hurt the innocent Shravaks. When Acharya got to know that the attackers were going to be punished, he took a vow that until the attackers were not released, he would not eat or even drink any water. The police officers asked Acharya, "Maharaj, how can you forgive these culprits? Why are you doing this? They try to attack you." To which Acharya replied, "I do not have any hatred or hard feelings towards them. How can I eat when you are going to punish them because of me?" Seeing Maharajji's calm and composed reaction, the police were very surprised. They had never seen such a kind, humble, and forgiving person in their lives. Hence, after Maharajji's convincing, the police released all the attackers without any punishment. The people who came out being unpunished had a feeling of deep regret since they had gone to kill the saint, a saint who even after being attacked was willing to forgive and let them free without any punishment. Because of Maharajji's act of forgiveness and kindness, all the attackers became good people. If we look around us, there are so many people who forgive others for small or even big crimes, just like Maharajji did. Kids, as human beings, we need to have compassion and understanding to all living beings, even to our enemies. May it be any situation, whether it be favorable or even unfavorable. We shouldn't be angry at anyone, and we should never keep any hard feelings towards anyone. Always forgive everyone. The feeling of Shama, or forgiveness or forbearance, helps us learn to keep our mind calm and also gives others an inspiration to be forgiving. Forgiveness does not mean feeling weak. In fact, the act of forgiveness makes you mentally strong, and only brave people can forgive others. If we keep Shama Bhav, meaning if we practice forgiveness, then we will be able to shed our bad karmas and our soul will start getting pure. Do you want to know something very interesting? In Jainism, we celebrate a day of forgiveness. We call it Shama Varniki Dan. This auspicious day is celebrated on the last day of the Slakshan Parv, and it is celebrated all over the world. On this day, we seek forgiveness for any intentional or even unintentional hurt caused to others by us, and we also forgive everyone else who ever hurt us in the past. With folded hands, we should ask for forgiveness from everyone and also forgive everyone wholeheartedly. And what do we say when we do this? We say Uttam Shama. Jai Jinendra.
Okay, good thought, right? So I want you to tell me two takeaways from the story that we just saw that we just played. Let's see, who should we start with? Okay, Arush, why don't you start? Two takeaways, two things that you found fascinating, something that you will remember in life from this story.
One thing I'll remember is that how the Maharaji, even though there was a lot of fighting and like a lot of noise going on outside, they were still calm and in deep meditation and didn't like wake up, see what was going on. And then after that, they still like forgave the attackers and they didn't like try to punish them or reason with.
Very nice. So that's the thought of Uttam Shama, right? He was in a position of influence, right? He may not have been powerful himself to punish the culprits, but he surely was in greater influence, right? At least the cops were on his side. In spite of he being in the power of influence and position, he applied his patience and his forbearance and forgave all the attackers. That's most important thing. See, if I'm weak and I'm like, yeah, you know what, my brother is stronger than me, he beats me up, so I'm forgiving him. That's not forgiveness, right? Forgiveness is when you are in a position of strength, right? Forgiveness is never about position of weakness. It is about position of strength, right, Tatva? So if you are younger and you forgive your elder brother just because he is more strength than you, then that's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is when your elder brother, in spite of he being stronger than you and taller than you, forgive your mischiefs. That's forgiveness. Right, Sarthak? है ना? तो इस चीज को ध्यान में रखना, राइट, कि इट इज फर्स्ट थिंग दैट forgiveness demands is strength. So never give up on building your strength, but in spite of you having strength, always have the thought of forbearance, of forgiveness in your contemplation. Okay, great, good, Arush. How about you, Praniti? What are the two takeaways, two things? Now they can be anything, names, stories, experiences from this story.
After the people they started like killing the followers of the Bhagwan, they felt deep regret, and also whenever you forgive someone, you say Uttam Shama.
Very nice. Good. Okay, great. Yeah, so the thought of Uttam Shama and then how do you practice it is important to know. And also that, those people were angry because of their ignorance. They wanted to kill the sadhu because sadhu was naked and they thought it's disrespectful, right? They thought it's uncivil. Yet, when they got to know about, the immense forgiveness, the nature of the sadhu, they've regretted it, which is a great thing. That also is a sign of, of forgiveness, right? If somebody gets into guilt and they want to do the the pashatap, they want to do penance for it, that also is a great thought. So good, Praniti. How about you, Arham?
What I wanted to say, Arush already said it. That when like they were all fighting outside, the Muni Maharaj was inside and didn't like hesitate to go out.
Hmm. Okay, how about, do you remember the name of the sadhu, of the acharya Shri, whose story this is, Arham? It's
I
Acharya
forgot.
Shanti Sagarji. What's his name?
Acharya Shanti Sagar.
Yes, and I told you about the significance of Acharya Shanti Sagarji, right? He was the first saint of the modern time in the north of India who re-established the Digambar Chaturvid Sangh in the north of India, right? And that too during the time of Britishers, right? So that's his upkar, right? Resetting it, right? Otherwise, the whole although the Jain dharma was there, but people were not having access to, or the opportunity to do Vaiyavritti of the sadhus in the north of India, right, where majority of Jains live today, right? So more Jains are concentrated in north of India than south. There are enough in south as well, but that's how it is, right? So do remember the name, Aram, है ना? every one of you. Acharya Shri Shanti Sagar ji. है ना? And especially when we are talking about Acharya, we don't just say Acharya Shri, we say Acharya Shri 108. Right? That's a mark of our respect, immense respect for an Acharya. है ना? Acharya are at the top of the monk order of the Chaturvid Sangh. They are the leaders of the Chaturvid Sangh and the householders. They are the they are uh, the monks who lead not just the sadhus but also the householders and provide them a path, show them a path in the current times. है ना? So we should know their name. Okay. How about you, Sarthak? What are the two takeaways from this story?
Uh, so basically, forgiveness, you should forgive, like when you're in a position of power. I learned that even if somebody hurts you, you should still forgive them and like understand them.
Yes. And remember, while we are forgiving people, we are not giving them an option to do the same commit the same mistake again. So mindfulness while forgiving is also very important. So that's why sometimes people say forgive but not forget, right? So when you are forgiving somebody, it's not necessary that those people will always be of sane mind and not deceitful, right? So first and foremost, the people you should be forgiving are the people who may have expressed their penance, one, and those people who you think will not commit the same mistake again, right? In cases where you forgive somebody, who you think is deceitful, do remember that they will come back again. So forgiveness, while forgiveness is important, we should not be forgetting it, right? So that we are not in a weak position, and at least as a householder. Okay, so be mindful of that also. But good thought, yes. Okay, how about you, Tattva? What is your learning from this story? You can turn your camera down because I can only see your hairs. Yes, little bit further. Yes. Okay, now go ahead, Tattva. What have you learned? What are the key takeaways? It could be anything. One anecdote from the story is good enough for me. I just want to know if you are paying attention or you are playing a video game. आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही बेटा तत्व. I think there's some issue with your headset.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I thought I was increasing the volume of my headset, but I was actually decreasing it, and I didn't like realize you shared your screen. I was in the meeting the whole time. I had to like click on the your screen.
So you didn't hear anything?
No.
Then why didn't you raise your voice? Why didn't you tell me? That means you are not paying attention. I caught you.
No, I was. I just you were on mute the whole time, and I was like waiting for you to speak, and I didn't know.
But my video signal is there, right? Your brother was always interacting. Why were you not? है ना? So be mindful of I am forgiving you this time, but next time I'm going to uh, you know uh, not forgiving you. Okay. So be mindful. If you are not able to hear me and if you see the people, their lips moving, that means they are speaking. Okay. So you missed the opportunity of the story. Did you hear the story or no?
No.
No. So that means you were not even looking at the screen. You were doing something else.
No, it's like no, because it's just like two options. Like you can be in the meeting or you can like be looking at the screen.
Okay. 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 I don't know what that is, but that's okay. Sarthak, maybe you can help him next time. Okay. Okay. No worries. So let's go to the next story. That is story, as I said, the second dharma. The first one is Uttam Shama, or the supreme forgiveness or forbearance, right? The first dharma. And as I mentioned, there are 10 dharma, and we should be mindful of all the dharma. We should be contemplating about all these 10 dharmas at every opportunity. These dharma in their highest form are followed by our monks, but as a householder also, we should be contemplating about them as much as possible. So we just went through the story of Uttam Shama. This was a story about Acharya Sri Shanti Sagarji, right? And how he, in spite of being in a position of influence, forgave the people who attacked him, right? And showed his uppkar, right? And not just that, because of his magnanimity, those people who attacked him, they got into a guilt. They realized their mistakes, and then they committed a penance, right? So that's a great thought. So it has to be mutual, right? Is very important thing for us to be mindful of. Okay. Okay. So with that said, let me now share the screen again, and we'll go through the story of Mardhav Dharma, the second one, modesty, right? Modesty is also very important, right? For us to be a practicing Jain householder, being modest is a virtue. It's very, very important for us to always stay modest, because when you are modest, knowledge comes to you. All the good thoughts come to you. All the good things happen to you, and you are also liked by everyone around you. है ना? So let me play. Let's see, where is that story? Okay, so this was Uttam Shama. Yes, let me play that story. Okay, before I play, I want to check with Tattva. Can you hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
Perfect, good. Okay, I'm going to now play the video. If you are not able to listen to it, please
Jai
raise.
Janand, kids.
Okay?
Today we're going to learn about Uttam Mardhav Dharma, meaning supreme modesty dharma. Let us imagine that you are in a drawing competition in your school, and guess what? Your friend won that competition. So what do? You get upset, right? You might even start crying that you didn't come first in the competition. Even though you want to win all the time and be the best, when this does not happen, we feel terrible. This is because of a special human feeling called man kashai, or our ego. In this situation, the winner also starts to think that he is the best and that he is superior over others. He starts to become proud of himself, and this extreme pride also leads to ego. However, our scriptures tell us that Mardhav Dharma, meaning supreme modesty, helps us to stop this ego. Let me give you an example. Once there was a powerful king of ancient Greek kingdom named Alexander the Great, also known as Sikandar. He was a great emperor and became the king of Greece at the age of 20. He wanted to conquer the whole world. He fought many wars and battles and kept becoming more and more powerful by winning countries like Afghanistan, Iran, Turkestan, and so many more. After that, he came to Bharat, also known as India, to conquer and rule it. At that time, India was known as the Golden Bird, since it used to be a very rich and prosperous country. Sikandar had also heard that Bharat, or India, had many spiritual and enlightened saints. One day, he went to the banks of the Indus River and he paid his respects to a saint sitting there. He was surprised to see that the saint's calm and composed nature. Sikandar requested the saint to accompany him to his home country, Greece, and to stay with him in his palace. He was ready to offer his kingdom, wealth, and precious stones to him. But the saint said, "I have left all this. I do not need any riches in my life. I have already discarded all these things." This infuriated Sikandar. He was annoyed and felt insulted to hear this. How could anyone deny such a big and powerful emperor like me? He began to draw his sword to kill the saint. But the saint was calm, and with a smile he said, "The way you will see my body cut with your sword, in the same way I will see my body being cut with your sword. Sikandar did not understand and gave a confused look to the saint. The saint explained to him that he could only punish his body, but not his soul. The saint said that the soul is immortal and can never be killed. And how could someone kill something that could never die? Sikandar dropped his sword the moment he heard these words, and he apologized for his arrogance. Then Sikandar went back to Yunnan, or Greece, and earned a lot of money, wealth, and riches. He defeated even more kings of even more countries in battles, and he became a super powerful ruler. It is said that Sikandar was the most powerful commander in history, who was undefeatable. During his last days, Sikandar fell extremely sick and wanted to meet his mom before dying, and requested the doctors to save him until his mom came. Sikandar told them to take away all his money and wealth to save him, and to just help him stay alive till he could see his mom. So the doctors replied saying, "We cannot save you. There is no one who can save you." Then Sikandar thought, "Of all the wealth and power that I accumulated, it cannot now even provide me with a few extra days of life?" Sikandar had learned a big lesson, and so he told everyone in his kingdom that when he shall die, his dead body would be taken throughout the kingdom, so that the entire world should be able to see his empty hands. Everybody should know that it was I, Sikandar, who thought that he had won the entire world, who ruled the entire world with extensive wealth. But in reality, it was I, Sikandar, who couldn't take anything along with him and died empty-handed. Kids, this is a true story, and it teaches us that we should not have ego. We should practice Uttam Mardha Dharma, because only our good and bad karmas accompany us in our next life. Nothing else. Jai Jinend.
Okay, so tamarda, modesty, right? So you just saw a story from our Agam text. It's a story about an interaction between Alexander when he came to India and he met some Jain sadhus, and his, expression of his ego, right? He was full of his ego, right? He being Alexander, what else to expect, right? And he talked to the sadhu in a very commanding tone, and wanted to was looking down upon the sadhu. But then when the sadhu uh, exhibited that he's not afraid of Sikandar, and gave him a thought, a very spiritually inclined thought about the eternity of the soul, right? That soul can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can be what is killed is not the soul but the body, right? That was so novel of thought for Sikandar. He had never heard this kind of thought from the culture he was coming from. He had never got exposed to this way of thinking and this dimension of knowledge, right? So he was completely taken aback and mesmerized with this kind of thought, right? And then he realized that his wealth is futile. It is of no, it's useless, especially when he was suffering from very strong diseases and whatnot, right? So, there are these stories, right? These stories are there for us to derive some information and some learning, right? So, Arush, again, let me ask you, what is your takeaway from this story?
My takeaway is like that you should never have such a large ego because sometimes like you won't be able to see the things like how Alexander like he was in such a big ego he would didn't understand at first what the Jain Sadhu had said.
Very nice. Good way of putting it, right? Ego is always, it's a abstraction in the process of learning, right? Even sometimes we have a smaller ego in our classrooms, right? Oh, this teacher, I don't like him, what dress he's wearing. I don't think he can teach, right? Now, that teacher is not losing anything. It is us who are denying ourselves from the process of learning. And what is the biggest abstraction in the process? It is ego. है ना? So having modesty uh, helps in ensuring that learning keeps coming to you. New learning keeps coming to you. Okay, good thought. Good thought. Beta Tattva, what do you think? What's your key takeaway from this story?
Um, um,
Any thought, right? What do you remember from this story? You don't have to derive higher pointers, but what are the few things that you'll remember from this story? Okay, I'll give you a few minutes to think about it. Let me go to Arham. How about you, Arham?
Like when Alexander was dying, he thought to the doctor said, "I'll give you all my wealth and money so you can save me for a bit longer."
Yeah.
But then because he had ego and he wanted to rule the nation, like the whole world. But when he died empty-handed.
Yes, good point, right? I mean, we may think that all this wealth will come to our rescue, all the materialistic, things that we have accumulated around us will come to rescue, but that is not the case, है ना? तो ऐसा होता है लोगों के साथ, right? They keep accruing, they're so focused on their life and their success stories that they don't, they're self-obsessed, they get mesmerized with those stories. In reality, none of those things will come to your rescue, but your own spiritual process, your own the good karma that you would have accrued will decide your fate in the future, है ना? अब सिकंदर के पास तो बहुत कुछ, at age of 32 he was ruling half of the known world at that time. He had defeated and destroyed all the existing known civilizations of the time. Yet he was, when he was on the deathbed, or in on he was suffering from disease, he was not able to, uh, he was willing to offer all the money, but yet he was, the those things were not able to save, है ना? So yes, that's how one should think, and that's one thing that will always keep a check on your ego. Okay, especially when you get blessed with more and more materialistic wealth and materialistic resources. Okay, good, great. Praniti, how about you?
I think something I really thought about was that like how he had all of that money, but it did him nothing good in the end.
Yeah.
So like
Yes,
materialistic possessions are not as important as like being a good person overall.
100%. Great thought, Praniti, right? So while having wealth is not bad thing. Having wealth, provided that you have a plan on how you want to use that wealth, you can always use your wealth for doing the four type of donations, right? We learned about that earlier, है ना? मेरे पास अगर बहुत wealth है, I have enough resources beyond what I'm what I need to sustain my life, I can always use them towards the four type of donations, right? The ahar dan, abhay dan, ahar dan, uh, gyan dan, aushadhi dan, and abhay dan. I can use that knowledge, those resources towards that cause, and that will help me in staying on path, and help in elevating myself by giving me the required good karma to sustain my life forward. But at the same time, it would be beneficial for others also. I can also use it for karuna dan, right? For philanthropy, for establishing institutions that can help in training and teaching kids, educating them, keeping them on the path, right? Keeping them out of trouble. Why not, right? We can always do that. So wealth is not bad, but having a ego built around that wealth and having a wrong belief that wealth is what will give me get me out of trouble always all the time is a wrong belief, and that is what one has to not build. So good thought, Praniti. Okay, now how about you, Sarthak? What's your key takeaway?
Uh, I think that no matter how much wealth you have, nobody can like nothing can stop death, basically.
Yes, good
And
thought. Yes, death is inevitable, right?
yeah, nobody
Yes,
can stop it.
yes, nobody can stop it. Everyone is born with an Ayu Karma, right?
Even Bhagwan couldn't stop it for.
Yes, right, absolutely, right? Death is your own doing in a way, right? How is it decided? How is it destined that you will die in a particular age with a particular ailment? That's all a manifestation of your past accrued karma, right? One of the karma, if you remember, out of the eight is Ayu karma. है ना? Ayu means age. So your age duration is decided based upon the type of karma that you have accrued in the past. How have you accrued those karma? By different actions, reactions, thoughts, right? And deeds, right? That's how you have accrued, and words. That's how you have accrued those karma, right? And that's what one of those type of karma is Ayu karma. And that decides when you are born and when you die, right? And even if you have enough wealth, even if you have uh, surrounded yourself with all kind of resources, yet death is inevitable. One point, every person who has taken birth, every, not just person, every being who is in a particular life form is going to die, including trees, right? Think of it. Even trees are a life form, right? They are also born, and at some point they die. Now, their duration is usually longer, so we don't see it growing and dying in the same period, right? There are trees like that have been there for a long time, thousands of years, but yet at some point they do die. है ना? So always keep that in mind. Okay. Now let me come to Tattva. Good thought, Sarthak. Good takeaway. Tattva, any
Um, you should uh, be happy for others.
you should be being happy for others. How did you learn that from the story that we just covered? Okay, give me
I
more.
mean, if you're happy for someone, like they won a competition,
Mhm.
then you're not being egoistic.
Okay, at least you are not being jealous. So yes, in a way, it's related. That's a good thought. You should be happy. You should be, that's being sport, right? You should be like, okay, I'm happy for you. If you have won because of your hard work and your focus, perhaps, right? I should also build that thing. So yes, in a way, it is good. Uh, it was not called out in the story. The story was more around like the ego of or non-modesty of Alexander and how that ego got broken, right, by a sadhu who didn't have any weapon. There was no way that sadhu, the naked Jain sadhu, could have uh, fought back Alexander, who was so powerful and had so many armies. He was so resourceful. Yet, with his words, with his very powerful words and spiritual inclination, he was able to, to surprise, to impress Alexander. Not just impress Alexander, but also he gave a food for thought to Alexander, which helped him in changing his way of thinking in later part of his life, right? So that's the grand lesson from this story. Okay, good. So we covered, as I mentioned, two of the dharma. In the chat you would have noticed that I put the names of all the 10 dharma that we are going to cover in the next few classes. ठीक है ना? अच्छा, आप सबको पता है नेक्स्ट वीक क्या होने वाला है? What is the big occasion, big parv that we are going to celebrate? Sarthak, probably you know it because you are doing some some project.
Diwali.
No, it's not Diwali. Diwali comes later. It's related, but it's not Diwali. And I'll tell you what is the connection.
Mahavir.
क्या है next week? Next Sunday क्या celebrate कर रहे
Mahavir
हैं?
Jayanti.
Mahavir Janma Kalyanak, not Mahavir Jayanti. What is it? Mahavir Janma Kalyanak. We heard about the 5 Kalyanaks of Tirthankar Bhagwan, right? Garb Kalyanak, Janm Kalyanak, uh, Diksha Kalyanak, Gyan Kalyanak, and then the Moksha Kalyanak. है ना? Right? These are the 5 important perv in life, or 5 important events in life of a Tirthankar. The second one is when the Tirthankar is born as a human being, as a baby, right? That's what Janma Kalyanak is. We don't say Mahavir Jayanti. We say Mahavir Janma Kalyanak, MJK. है ना? तो पहला चीज है. Yes, it is Mahavir Janma Kalyanak. Now, I told you, right, there is a connection of Deepavali with it. The connection is Mahavir Bhagwan was born. His Janma Kalyanak is on the coming Sunday. His Moksha Kalyanak is on Diwali. So Kartik Amavasya, the day of a new moon in the month of Kartik, is when we celebrate Diwali. We celebrate Diwali because that's the day of Mahavir Bhagwan's Moksha Kalyana. है ना? So that is the connection, right? So Mahavir Janma Kalyanak is not Deepavali. It's equally, festival of happiness for us for sure. But the reason is, this is the day when Mahavir Bhagwan was born. Back when, about 2500 years ago. ठीक है ना? So सबको ये ध्यान रहना चाहिए. It's a very important festival for us. है ना? Her culture, every tradition, they celebrate their festivals. Christmas is not our festival, but we remember it. Thanksgiving for sure is not our festival, but we remember it. Why don't we make an attempt and remember our own festivals that are part of our tradition? है ना? So that's why we should remember Mahavir Janma Kalyanak, at least of Mahavir Bhagwan, because we are supposedly living in the age of Mahavir Bhagwan, right? There happened no Tirthankar after Mahavir Bhagwan. So that's why we say we are living in the age of Mahavir Bhagwan. It is his teachings that we are deriving our learning and our principles from. So that's his uppkar, and this is our humility and our expression of modesty, that at least we should have complete faith and we should be very, very proud of our tradition. One of that is we should be aware of our festivals. है ना? Right, Arush? So Mahavir Janma Kalyan, when is it celebrated? It's very important day for us, right? People of different traditions, they celebrate Eid, they get very excited about it. Some people, celebrate Hanukkah and whatnot, right? Their traditions, St. Peter's Day. Why? That's their tradition, and we should be happy for them. It's not like we should not celebrate with them, we should wish them. But at the same time, we should also be culturally aware of what our festivals are. Why should we be giving up our traditions and our values just to embrace other people's traditions? Are we of any lower birth? We are not, right? So we should be mindful of it and we should be very proud of our traditions. That's why if somebody asks you what is the day, you should very excitedly say what is Mahavir Janma Kalyanak about, right? You should know the story and you should be able to tell it to others. Right, Praniti? Make sense? Right? So why do we celebrate Diwali? Because that's the day of Mahavir Bhagwan's Moksha. It's the day of Mahavir Bhagwan's Moksha Kalyan. Okay? Chalo. I leave you with that thought and we'll end the class today. Let's do Jinwani Stuti. जावाणी के ज्ञान से सूझे लोकालोक, देवाणी मस्तक धरूं देहु सदा धो, हे जिनवाणी भारती माँ तो है जपू दिन रैन, जो तेरी शरण आ गए माँ सो पावे सुख चैन. उत्तम क्षमा बच्चों. जय जिनेन्द्र. Oh, by the way, is anybody I don't think any of you live in Boston area, right? New England? Nobody, right? Okay, great. Good to know. I am actually traveling to New England tomorrow and I'll be there for a week. So I thought I'll check with you guys. Cool. चलिए, all the best for this week and stay excited for Mahavir Janma Kalyanak Festival. Okay? Jai Jinendra.
Yes,
Jai Jinend.
Jai